The information provided is not a substitute for legal and other professional advice where the facts and circumstances warrant. People should always consult their own legal or other professional advisors and discuss the facts and circumstances that apply to their specific circumstances. The information shared on Ask the Landlord is for educational purposes only.
Hello to everyone listening out there. We're back with another episode of Ask the Landlord with our favorite landlord, Albert Dweck. I'm Melissa. I'm one of Albert's producers and a former New York City, Pittsburgh, and Lafayette, Louisiana renter. And together, we're going to be asking this landlord some questions. Here's my question for today, Albert. How do I prove if I can pay the rent if I don't have a monthly salary? Like, what if I'm freelance? What if I'm a retired person? What are some options for those people?
That's a great question. Hi, Melissa.
Hello.
So you certainly have a lot of experience being a renter as well. So, I think the answer to this question goes to the packaging of yourself when you make your presentation to a landlord. So usually landlords check for three things, really. One, and the most important one, is your ability to pay the rent, like your income, which is what you're asking about. So usually landlords are looking for 40 times the monthly rent in gross annual income. So just that I'm saying that, okay? That's for you, right? Then another way to think about it's the same number. It's 30% of your gross annual income is what you could afford to pay in rent for the year. Usually that's how they think about affordability. Okay. So just using around numbers, if I just pick, say $60,000 a year in annual income as a number, you could afford 1/40 of that as a monthly rent. So it's $1,500, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or, you take that, you multiply it by 0.3, right? 30%, and then it becomes 18,000. 18,000 divided by 12 is 1,500. Okay. So that's the number. That's the number that landlords are looking for. So that's one item. We'll come back to that. Okay. That's the bogey that we're looking for, right?
Got it.
The second part of being approved for an apartment is your credit score. Usually good credit, they're looking for above a 680 or something like that, or 700. And then the third is usually, and the fourth, right? Third is usually no prior evictions or something like that. And the fourth is usually some kind of recommendations or something from a prior landlord. Okay. So your package is based on those things, right? Right. So you're asking me about income specifically. So there's a few things to do. First of all, you're saying let's say you're taking a year off sabbatical, right? Right. And you haven't worked, but you have a lot of money in the bank, right? So you would show the landlord, hey, I have good credit. I have enough money in the bank to pay you. I've paid my other landlord. I have no issue. Here's that story. So obviously you're making a picture together, right? So that would be one answer.
So you have to show bank statements, print them out, give them the actual bank statement?
Yes, okay. That would be helpful. Going back to the question of how do you prove income, you could give W-2s, you could show pay stubs, bank statements, things like that. Yes, very often when we're looking for qualifying a person, they, confidentially share bank statements so that we could see, what income they're earning, how much they have in the bank to be able to pay the rent. And you're basically looking for, the thing that we just said is okay, well, the rent is, let's say, $1,500 a month. And, you have to see that they have enough money to do that, So that's one answer to the question that we would see, it's a part of a package of somebody, for whatever reason. Then another thing that if there's someone can't show let's say someone's got a new job, right? And maybe they get a letter from their employer about what they will be earning, what they are earning. But let's say they're new, whatever, and they come. So maybe they need someone to sign for them. So in that case, let's say they don't have an income 40 times the rent, but they have a person that's willing to sign for them, with them.
As a guarantor?
As the guarantor,
okay.
Right. So that guarantor obviously has to be able to pay their own payments plus this. So usually for them, they have a higher bar of demonstration, meaning 100 times or something like that instead of 40 times.
So what would be some options for someone who's freelance? Let's say they don't have a pay stub. Let's say some months they do really well and other months they make a couple $100 and they don't do well. How do you show that?
You could show a tax return, that shows the income that which we've seen before. Like I said, it's a whole picture. So you say, look, it's not, your letters of recommendation are very important. You could always offer to prepay rent as well.
Right. That's an option.
And then there's also services that help enhance your credit, which we've discussed in the past. And I accept as well is, let's say you don't have a guarantor, you don't have,
right,
but you have the other requirements. And let's say you're in a competitive environment as a renter and you want to put your best foot forward, you want to get accepted for these apartments, and you're like in a competitive, if there's someone that's really qualified, how do you compete with them? Right?
Right. What do I do? How do I stand out?
That's a concern, right? That's a concern. So you could, like I said, you could have a good package that you're creating by having referrals and all that. But there's also services that today, like it's the guarantors. There are companies that you can pay as a renter for, like, insurance for you, that tell the landlord, hey, landlord, this person, we're a third party, we're going to stand up for them because they're paying a little bit of a premium. Right. So that, those are things that go into that consideration. So it's not just your income, it's a package. It's about packaging, how you package yourself. That's why it's important to have a good relationship with your existing landlords, because you want them to say something about, you to the next landlord, regardless of your income. So that's like something to consider, when you're doing that. Putting up money, like we talked about, getting a service like one of the guarantors or InsureRent or one of these services, which, maybe we'll have on the show. Or demonstrating you have money in the bank or something like that.
So have you ever had anyone be very creative? I don't know if this is the space for someone to do it, but I'm just picturing someone, let's say they want to stand out from the rest and they send you a video. Have you ever received like a video application of why you should choose me? I'm the best renter.
I've never
Not yet?
I've never had that.
Okay.
That would be something though.
Right? I don't know if you've seen the movie Legally Blonde, but like she makes this whole video to get into Harvard and it works. So
I haven't seen
if it works for the movies,
Yes. Maybe we could have her as a guest on the podcast and she could tell us all about it.
Reese Witherspoon, yes, I would love that.
That would, you know what I'm saying?
No, I'm just thinking, like, to stand out, people are very creative, especially in New York and everywhere. And I was just wondering if that's
I think that's good. I think ultimately you're looking for
stability.
The landlord's really looking for an answer to how someone's going to pay, and sugarcoating it doesn't usually work. Right. So it's like, I think letters of really recommendation. You could get business references too, those, anything like real stuff like that shows the landlord, hey, this is how it works.
Has anyone ever tried to offer you anything to beat other people to stand out?
you
I
know,
know you would never accept a
no,
bribe, but has
no,
anyone
no,
ever offered?
no. Well, first of all, people would be interested in paying more money, I guess. When you have a competitive deal and you have the same offer out to people, you're going to take the best package. So sometimes people
Hmm.
say, "Look, I'll pay you more money."
Right.
What we've done, we talked about this. What I've done personally, when the market was very competitive for ourselves, um, we put together like a little bit of a package that shows to the landlord, "Hey, here's who we are. Here's who's going to be living there.
Hmm.
Here's what." So I think it humanizes it
Hmm. Of
without
course.
going over the top. So to the extent you could humanize it and tell the people, "Hey, look, I'm this and this. I do this. I do this. My wife does this. My kids do this. They go to school here. We live
Yeah.
in the area. We like it. Here's why we're living here. Here's why we like this place." You know, I'm not. It's not a love letter, but it's just like here's who I am. You know,
Without giving them some Knicks tickets, right?
yeah. Yeah, no, I've been doing business for so many, and I do think though there are things that landlords care about, um, which you can offer as well. You could say, "Look, I've been, for example, I've been a good tenant in a few places, and I have this relationship with a landlord where I have a podcast that I'm doing for him, so I really
Hey.
I understand what it is to be a good tenant. So, you know, that's something that's certainly." Useful, helpful. It's not going to hurt you.
Can you imagine if I put this, like, if I put a link at the bottom of an apple? I would do it. I would absolutely
You
do
see
it.
what I'm saying? It's you bring it up.
Yeah,
It makes
I
sense.
think, what a good thing you're saying is it is about the money, but it's not just about the money. It's about painting a picture, humanizing the person, bringing this person to life for the landlord so they can see, okay, like this is why they want to live here. This is how they're going to improve the community, maybe,
Yeah,
things like
yeah. I
that.
mean, I have a light tangent on that for you for a moment.
Go ahead.
It's not always about the money, and this I'm going to say that to you. To your point, I know a guy, okay, where they live in a building, and another unit in the building went for a very, very high rental price, and was curious. Why did that go for such a high rental price? It's like totally weird. So I said, and then what turns out was the person who's renting it is putting it on Airbnb.
Mm.
So while, yes, they're paying a high price and they're renting it on Airbnb, it's creating such a problem for the people in the building because it's like a hotel room, like,
Hmm.
right? So this guy, he has the money to pay. He's paying the landlord a big price, but he's not using the apartment in a way that's effective or nice or good for the building. It's good for him
Right.
or her.
It's not compatible for the others in the building,
Right.
and it's a nuisance
So
almost,
so
probably.
you
I mean, I
trade
don't
off
know.
you make a trade off there. You say, well, even this person could afford it, and they're paying a high rent. It's not about the money. It's like, is that the kind of it's illegal. Is that the kind of operation that you want to have in your building? As an owner, as a landlord. So those are or as a tenant, do you want to have that around you in your building where there's people doing all kinds of stuff, that you don't know, or showing up with luggages every day or whatever it is. It's a whole
Right.
different, thing.
I have a really quick story about that. Right during the pandemic, when we were in Miami, my parents were trying to convince us to move here, and we did put an offer on a house in like Hollywood, and it was really nice. And there were 18 other offers. It went for like 100,000 over ask, and a lot of the competitors at that open house were investors, and the owner was showing the house, and she loved Alan and I because we were like a young couple, trying to settle and have a life. And I think I don't know who she chose, but it was a lot of investors at that time, probably
Yeah,
going to Airbnb it, or who knows.
yeah, yeah.
So that happens all over.
It
It's
does, and I think, um, in a house situation, and I've often seen that the people who live there for a long time, they care about like who's gonna live there because there's nostalgia about the place. Like when we sold our house,
absolutely.
I'm like, we go visit it, we see, oh, you remember your house, you see it, so you care about what's going to happen to it. A little bit of nostalgia, but ultimately, it's one of the factors that makes a difference.
I think so. So just present yourself with the whole package. Try to give every document you can. And just, again, another flowing theme is the communication. What do you want to see? What can I provide for you?
You're telling a story. And one part of the story is the income could be money in the bank instead. The landlord wants an easy and understandable way that's proven of how they're going to get paid. And if you can prove that, that's what they're looking for.
All right. Thank you so much, Albert. All right, everyone listening out there, we have a new little feature we're going to debut today. If you have a question for Albert, we set up a hotline. So we want you to leave us a voicemail on the Ask the Landlord hotline. And here's the number, 646-580-3015. You can call in, leave a message, and then maybe your question will end up on the show. How about that, Albert?
That would be great.
Yeah. All right. The number one more time, 646-580-3015. Ask the Landlord hotline. We'll see you next time, everyone. Thank you. For more episodes, please subscribe to Ask the Landlord on your favorite podcast platform. We'd appreciate it if you left a review on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to watch the show, check out our Ask the Landlord YouTube channel. If you have a question for Albert, feel free to contact him on Instagram at @AskTheLandlord and check out his TikTok at @AskTheLandlord. Bridging the gap between landlords and tenants, this has been Ask the Landlord. Thanks for listening.